So the market update, how many of you think that the interest rates are high? Okay. So we have a few hands, and then it's all about a matter of perspective. And that's if we can, do you think the interest rates are high? Which I just asked. And well, I like looking at history. I like looking at statistics. Next slide, please. This is Friday, April 2nd, 1971. How many of you were born or living in 1971? Because I was. Yep. I was just a little. I was just a little kid, a very beautiful looking kid, I would say. And then that's why they named me Angel. But that was back in April 2nd, 1971. And look where the interest rates were, 7.33. Next slide. Friday. We love Fridays, by the way. January 24th, 1975. More of you were out and about playing games, I guess. Look where the interest rates were, 9.35. Next slide, please. Another Friday, November 6th, approaching Thanksgiving, 1981. Go forward. There you go.
I was almost born.
18.37 was the interest rate.
They actually went up to almost 20%.
Yep.
Did you guys know this by chance? I'm curious to see who knew that 7% was high or thought that was the highest rate we've seen, or 8%, right? We're giving you guys perspective because most people don't know, follow the market like we do. They don't know the history of the market. So based on this, do you guys think rates are high right now?
Yep.
All right.
So moving forward, that's a number not to forget, 18.37. And now we're October 18, 1985. What do you see happening here? They start dropping. You think folks started refinancing if they had an 18.33 interest rate and now it's 12.13? I can almost assure you that conversations were taking place. And when your new neighbor bought, and you start having conversations and you say, because the question, hey, so what interest rate did you get? Well, I got a 12.13. You got what? Oh my God. You're going to go run over to me. I would call the wife. We got a refi because we got an 18%. Of course, when they bought at 18%, I bet you the price was lower, because what is the effect as the interest rates drop? Everyone, there's a demand now. So the folks that bought at 18%, now they can refi at 12%. And that's the way the effects that take place. Next slide, please. Another Friday, we're now 1995, 9.13. That's 1995. In 1998, I bought my first property and I got a 7.5. I really didn't know much. I just wanted to know if I could pay the mortgage payment. I didn't focus so much on the interest rate. When the lender says, hey, you're pre-qualified, I said, good. I want that house. I told the realtor, bam, we put an offer, we got it. That's all that mattered. Now I knew that I had a 7.5. So when I went to work, the older guys, hey, Angel, I heard you got a new property. I did. What's the interest rate? Jeez, I got to go check. And when I came back the next day, hey, what interest rate did you get? I got a 7.5. Well, these guys were in the 9s. And so was my sister, my older sister, I remember. She was in the 9s. She had a 9.5 or a 9.6. So I bought in 1998 at 7.5. And the guys were saying, you got a smoking deal, Angel. Okay, sounded great. As long as I could pay the mortgage. Next slide. Now we're in 2000. And I was a grown man. I had my property, my first property. Now it went to 8.36. Now, granted, I had a 7.5 in 1998. Moving on. So let's go back to that slide. You see here? So I got a 7.5 and then it went up. Now, of course, some people were saying the end is near. everything's going to collapse. Conversations at work. I was in law enforcement, so, sometimes when you're getting a cup of coffee and a donut as a cop, these conversations take place because you're waiting for something to go bad and you got to go respond. So you have these conversations. So the end is near. The world is coming to an end because Angel got a 7.5 and then the newer guy says, geez, I'm stuck with an 8.36. Moving forward. And look at what happened in 2005. Holy camole, below 6%. We've never seen that before.
Do you guys remember who bought a home earlier around 2005? You remember, Freddie, how was it? Yeah. Was it crazy? Crazy.
Yep. So if you wanted to buy, you're gonna have to go out there in the battle. It was horrendous. 5.66. Isn't that beautiful? Even today, if somebody says, I'm gonna give you a 5.6, you're gonna say, I like it. Because now we're talking about, geez, the 7.5, that's high. Next slide, please.
There were people pitching tents outside of the.
Yep.
For lotteries to get a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2010, 5.07. Now a Thursday. We didn't go to Friday, right? April 22nd, spring.
Let's take a pause real quick here, Angel, because what happened between 2008 and 2010? Do you guys remember?
It was when all the houses.
The crisis.
Lost.
Yep.
The market collapsed. So the government, what they did is, okay, we need to lower the rates so that people can start buying homes. Right now, there's about 20,000 homes on the market, and Angel will go over that. But back then, there was like 60,000 homes available. So it gives you a little bit of perspective and idea as to what was going on.
You could get a house for 10,000.
Yeah, back then you could, 100%. Yeah.
Well, some folks, but
All right.
okay, we're back. So you got to remember, and I like mentioning this because we just talked about 2008, the crisis. There was something that led to 2008 crisis, which was there was no underwriting. If those that were on the out in the market, you could go buy 5 houses. I know a coworker bought 5 houses within a few months. He had my same salary. There was no underwriting. You could go in there and say, like, my dog's name was Rocky. So there was no income verification, no nothing. And I put Rocky Ramos, and they would give me the loan, and I'm buying that house. So that's how the crisis was created, overinflated. After the crisis happened, now underwriting, very strict. If you're getting a loan, it's because you can get the loan. And of course, as Juan indicated, there were changes they had to stimulate. And 5.07 is a smoking deal. When you were seeing the 9s, the 12s, and even the 18s. Next slide, please. 4.0. Isn't that beautiful? December 31st, New Year's. Bet you there were a lot of folks that closed during that period at 4.0, or those that refied. They were celebrating because not only was it New Year's, they were looking at the fact that they were able to save money. Next slide. 2020 wasn't that long ago, was it? But yet it's history. It's 4 years ago. Almost, because it's November, right? Now, I guess everyone in this room was up and running during this period, right, Helen? So even the younger crowd can remember what happened during the 2020 at the beginning. So we have.
So why this happened? So we had COVID, right? And then the government again, the world's gonna end, like Angel mentioned earlier. People panic. They think these catastrophes happen. They've been happening all along. We just focus on right now. We have a very short-term memory. And the reason we want to go this route is because we want to show you guys perspective. What do you guys think about the rates? Are they high or are they low compared to the history?
And so,
There we go.
yeah. Now, what is the probability of us seeing a 2.84 again in our lifetime? I don't foresee that happening again. So if you have a 2.84, that's great for you. Now, I can tell you this. When I was in San Diego, I sold a house because when I retired, my lovely wife and I decided to come to the oasis in the desert, Paradise, which is where we live. We left San Diego having a 3.25. It was 2018. We bought a brand spanking new house in the summer of 2018, but by the time we closed in January of 2019, the rates went up. So from a 3.25, I got a 4.6. We still bought the house. And it wasn't until this period where we now have, we refied, of course, a 2.8, 2.87. This is a 2.84. I messed up by a little bit, right? But these things happen. Next slide. And now, 2024, May 30th, which was the other day, 7 is the number, okay? I asked someone the other day, I don't know if they're on Zoom, but I asked him, because he says, Angel, I'm going to continue to rent until the rates drop. And I says, how long have you been renting? Because this individual, he's got a very good paying job, and so does his wife. And he says, I've been paying rent for 3 years, Angel. I says, okay, what rate would motivate you to buy? I don't know, in the 4s. What about if we can find you something in the 4s or maybe low 5s? How do you do that? And of course, I got into the conversation. There's concessions from the seller that can potentially help you drop down your rate. Or in the case that, and I know the lenders here present don't like this part, but the new home builders are providing incentives to the point of giving you a 4.75, 4.99, etc. for 30 years, okay? So while you see this, you got to dig deeper. You got to talk to the right people, because you're seeing what's on surface and you're holding back, as this gentleman is doing, because he's waiting for the rates to go into the 4s. What happens if the 7.03 all of a sudden becomes a 4.03? Let's talk about tomorrow or Monday or whatever day of the next week. It's announced, hey, the rates dropped from 7 to 4. What do you think is going to happen?
You think people are
Refinance
gonna start
and
jumping
then,
in, though?
yeah. So
crazy.
everyone and their lovely mother and brother and grandfather and so on, they're going to jump. If you were out in the field, when I say field, when you were out there trying to buy a home during the time period that the rates were in the 2s or even low 3s, it was bad, because you would have a line to go and see a house, total line. There were houses, I remember one house, 53 offers. How can you compete if you're an FHAer with minimal money out of your pocket, or you're a vet, 100% financing, so no money for down payment, but the seller has, hold up, I got all these nice offers where they're giving, this guy's giving me $50,000 above asking price, that one's giving me 60. So the FHAers and the vets were being left aside. And that's why I started calling them when the rates went up, and they thought I was smoking crack or something.
Well, let's ask the question. I mean, so do you guys think it's better to wait until the market gets crazy? Or is it better to get in now that the market is a little bit slower, when you have an advantage and we can get you guys a better deal? Like Angel,
Yep.
This guy's gotten like $30,000 concessions, 3.99% interest rate with new builders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, make sure you guys take one of us before you go there. But if you wait for the market to get better, it's going to get worse for you guys, because you're going to have to pay more.
Correct.
Not only that, if you're renting, what is the interest rate on a rental?
It's 100%. Everything you pay to your rent is going for somebody else's mortgage.
Yep.
So you are contributing, you are paying mortgage, you are keeping the economy going. That's a good thing, because I got a tenant. I love tenants. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I do talk to them about home ownership, of which I've helped them get into a home. I'll break the lease as long as they use me as their realtor, of course. But I believe in home ownership because it's a long-term, just as Zach was mentioning, this is a long-term commitment. And now you can gain wealth. As here in the Grimaldo Group, we love saying what we do is to help people gain wealth through home ownership. But it's a long-term goal. Next slide, please. And I think this is going to be for you, Juan. If you have any questions, again, this is just historical data, puts things into perspective. So now when you see a 7%, and hold up, they mentioned an 18%. Think about that. Go ahead, Sergio.
Agent, just one comment. You made a really good point. It's simple, right? It's simple when interest rates go up, right? Unfortunately, right? And it is unfortunately, it will disqualify some people, right? People that make less money, they don't have the income, they don't have the assets. And we feel bad about that because we want everybody to get in. But for the people that qualify, it's a great opportunity. It's the best time, right?
Yes.
Because it's simple, right? What happens in a business when you eliminate your competition or more competition is eliminated, you make more money,
Perfect.
right? It's unfortunate what happens, right? Because Juan, the Grimaldo Group, Ricardo, he's a lender, I'm a lender. We make more when more people qualify, right? So we don't feel good about it, but it's a great opportunity for the people that do qualify. So that's the key. The key is, look into it. Just like you came here to hear, the previous speaker who was amazing investor. If you don't look into into the situation or how you can get to the next deal or how you can make the next business transaction, then it doesn't matter, right? So the key is look into it, talk to a trusted advisor, and again, simple terms, eliminate it, competition is eliminated. That's why it's a good deal.
And that's what I was getting at. I started calling those buyers that were having difficulty getting into a home when everything was going crazy because the rates were down to the 2s and 3s. So the vet and the FHA, I was reaching out. Hey, this is your window of opportunity. Why are you saying it's my window of opportunity? Well, now you can go out there. It's not crazy. So folks were thinking that 2020 through 2022 was a normal market. No, it was not a normal market. It was a crazy market. So when you try to compare, okay, look, the market slowed down. No, this is a normal market where now you can go shopping and look at a house and pick and choose and place an offer, okay? Whereas during the heyday, you saw a house at 9 a.m., you better be putting an offer by 11 a.m. Hopefully they didn't take it off the market by then. That's how it was. And now a VA, a vet, can potentially go see a house, put an offer, and get the house under contract, whereas before they were being left out. So there is an opportunity. It's a matter of whether or not you see it. And we hope that you clearly see it. And we're always here to help. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Rachel. So that being said, FHA and VAers are basically people that are buying with a regular mortgage loan. A VA, it's a veteran's loan. Angel's a veteran. Thank you for your service, sir. And but anyways, it's always a good time to get into real estate. I always say the same thing. It's when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, right? Have a beautiful tree. You can hang a nice swing or do a nice tree house for your kids. We're going to go over the closed sales over the years, so you guys can see how the sales changed when the market changed and when the interest rates went up. So next slide. So in 2019, we closed in 1 year 70,000 homes. Typically, on average, we sell anywhere from 4,000 to 7,000 homes. That's normal, right? But 70,000 homes, it's a lot of houses in 1 year. So 2020, 71,000. 2021, 72,000. So you can see the trend going up, right? And then 2022, the rates went up. 54,000. 2023, 45,000. So you can see how the amount of properties decreased by quite a bit. And we can feel it in the market because it's almost half of the properties that sold in 2023. So far, year to date, we're at 9,900 homes available. So almost 10,000 homes are right now active for sale, right? There's 10,000 homes. And right now, you guys think the market is slow or is it high? What do you guys think? From what you hear out there, do you guys think it's kind of people are taking their time or are they rushing out to buy houses? Taking their time? Okay. So there's 9,900 homes. Next slide. There's 5,400 homes under contract, meaning in the next week to a month, we're going to close almost 5,500 homes. And there's 10,000 homes available. What are you guys seeing there?
Not many homes available.
Exactly. This is what I want. This is the reason I've been harping on people that are waiting to buy to get in. The moment the rates drop, for those that are waiting, you're going to have to pay a lot more money. You're going to have to settle for a crappy house, and you're not going to have many options. Go to the next slide. 4,500 homes sold in the last 30 days. So if we have 9,000 and so 45 homes sold, we have good mathematicians here, right? So we have inventory for about 2 months. What does that tell you? Let's say all these people come out and start buying 10,000 homes a month. COVID era numbers. And I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if the rates are going to drop. We've been thinking they're going to drop for the last 2 years. They haven't dropped. My assessment is I bought properties, and I'm in the game. I own 13 properties. 9 of those are rental properties, and I'm not bragging about that. And it's for the long game, right? How much equity do you have? Going to put you on the spot. 350,000. Were you afraid when you bought your first home?
2% interest rate.
Say again?
2% interest rate, $200,000,
And you were scared.
$1,000 mortgage.
Was that like the top of your income? Like, man, I'm going to be
Yeah, I wasn't gonna be able to make the payment, $1,000.
awesome.
No, the second one, 5% interest rate, $500,000 home, I'm not gonna be able to make it. And I'm so glad I got it, because now it's like, what, it has so much equity already.
Both houses have equity?
This one has like 60, 70, yeah.
Nice. So 360,000 worth of equity in these few years. And this is why for you guys that are younger, this is the time to start. Because in the next 10 years, that mortgage is going to be paid down. Don't focus on right now. Because right now, do you make more money this year than last year, Adam?
Yes.
How about last year? Did you make more money than the previous year?
Yes.
Okay. When you own a home, your payment is fixed for 30 years. So every year you're like, man, I'm a genius. I bought that house for so cheap. You know, but the thing is, you have time, and especially Alexis. How many homes do you own, Alexis?
2.
2? And you're doing that renting the rooms, right?
Yeah.
Are you making money?
Yeah.
Let's go. You have equity?
Yeah.
How much?
Like 100.
So almost $500,000 just between you. Do you own several properties, sir? I know putting people on the spot. The thing is, the proof is in the pudding, and these people invest in themselves. I know I gave you a book, and that book opened up your eyes, right? I mention books to everybody here. Sometimes they don't listen, whatever. But my point with that is, you guys have resources. I'm passionate like Zach. We love our game. We love what we do. And yes, we will sell you a home, and yes, we will make money. But at the end of the day, you're building wealth. You make way more money than we do, and that's what we want. We want you guys to have a beautiful life. You think that this guy has a beautiful life? Just imagine if he only makes $1,000 a month per house, 300 house, how much is that a month? Good mathematicians, $300,000. Mind blowing, right? That's why I love doing these things, because I want to blow you guys' mind. I want to make you guys think big, because I come from a place where we had nothing, right? But I learn from others that are doing great things, and it pulls me, and I want to pull people with me.
And one of the things to note, Juan, is even back in when the rates were 18%, even when the market was at 18%, the market continued. There were still transactions in real estate taking place.
100%.
There were people selling, there were people buying, and it's still taking place today. So while some are saying, geez, the rates are 7%, I'm going to wait, there are others buying and selling.
Definitely. And our goal here is not only to help you purchase, sell a home, rent a home, but also help you create wealth in the process. Is that okay with you guys? Awesome. All right. So just based on the rates, based on the market, what is you guys' perception? Did it change a little bit from what you guys thought when it comes to the market? I know you guys know the game. This Shep is like watching this every single day. All right, next slide. All right, I'm going to tell about my story, because my story is similar to yours, Janet. Let's go to the next slide. My first home, we bought it in 2014. I'm sorry, 2004. We bought it for $135,000. We made that a rental. You remember that house? Adam rented my house back then. Adam and I go a long ways. He's a good friend of mine for many years. So we bought that house for $135,000. I'll get back to what we sold it for. Go to the next house. 2006, I thought I was a genius. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I rented the other property. And I was actually breaking even, right? But I didn't know what I was doing. I was using, just like everybody else, buying property because it was cool, right? I had no clue. So we bought our second home. This house, we bought it for $255,000, and my rate was 8% and 10%. It was 80-20. How much you guys think my mortgage was for this house?
What are you doing?
It's 80-20. I borrowed from 2 banks, so I didn't put any money down. That was Angel was talking about. You can get a home if you can follow me, or you can get a home. So I was one of those. So 255,000 just gets the mortgage.
1800.
$2,200 a month. It was a lot of money. And I had a nice truck. I was doing everything wrong. I had credit cards. I was like a mess. So it was $2,200. We live in that house until 2011. Keep going, Helen. Go back. Where it says, we short sold this home. The first one, 2007, I called the bank. I said, I have an adjustable rate mortgage. I need help. And Chase told me, you know what, just let it go. Everybody is doing the same thing. I said, all right, it's yours. I let it go, and they sold it for $114,000. Helen, go back. Oops. Ricardo wants to make it very nice and cozy. It sold for $114,000. This one, 2011, and this is where ignorance is very expensive. If I would have known what I know now, I wouldn't let any of these houses go. 2004 to 2024, how many years is that?
20.
$135,000 since 2004. You think that house would have been paid off by now? But I, like everybody else, like a sheep, I'm going to go and do what everybody else is doing. I did, and I don't regret it because it was a lesson. There's very expensive lessons that I paid. I just paid one like 2 weeks ago for my pool. That's another story. So we short sold our home in 2011, and I told my wife, I'm not going to rent. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a house, and I pray to God that He brings me a home. And at that point, this is a whole different story too, but I'm going to say it because I feel like I should. This is where God changed my life, and I trusted Him 100%. So this is my testimony for that. But I trusted God 100%. I said, you know what? I leave it all in your hands. I go to the office, and one of my friends, she's still in business. She's probably in her 70s. She's like, Juan, I got this special deal. One of my investors is selling a property for $65,000 and at 10%. And I said, I want it. I'm like, where? She's like, in El Mirage. I said, cool. So let me just call my wife real quick. And at that point, my wife was going to go to Mexico for some reason. So I go take a look at the house. It was a nice house. And go to the next slide. It was a pretty cute house, right? $65,000. And I said, I want it for me. And she's like, all right, well, let me talk to the owner to see if I can get you a special deal. And she says, I can get you a 10% rate. All right, I'll buy it. So I bought this house. I borrowed money from my mom. I borrowed money from my in-laws, $5,000 each. I put the $10,000 down, and my mortgage payment was $500. At that point, I paid off my car. I started doing things better because I started learning that I was screwing up everything that I touched. I was borrowing money like there was no tomorrow, and I'm like, someday I'll pay it, right? So I started with this. I bought it with a 10% interest rate. My payment was $500. We were there for 2 years. Some bad things happened in my neighborhood. My neighborhood was almost like a ghost town. I lived close to where you guys live. There was no neighbors, and every day I would get home and I'm like, is there any new neighbors? I was so excited to show up and see a neighbor because it was weird. Go ahead. Oh, really?
This is the 6,000.
And you had a 2,000, 1,700 square foot home, or was it? Yeah. So there was a lot of good deals, but we don't know. Like back then, it was scary. This payment, I was like, man, I'm so glad. I was still working at Archer Western, and my payment was comfortable. Lived there for 2 years. Bad things happened because some neighbors that moved in were not very nice. So I said, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to buy another one. At that point, I borrowed money from the owner, but then I found out about private money. And there was a friend of mine who had a lot of money, and I says, dude, I need to get a bigger house for my family. I need to get away from this place. Would you lend me $100,000? I'll pay you 10% interest rate. And he says, sure, I'll help you out. So I pulled the equity out of this house. Go to the next slide. And we bought this house. This house, Paulina walked in, she was little, and she's like, Daddy, I don't like this house, it stinks. It was very different than what it is now. This is what we made it ourselves, we remodeled it. He lent me $100,000 with the money that I made. I put the rest of the money. We remodeled it, made it our home. We lived there for another 2 years. So after 2 years of living there, Dave, one of our friends, says, I want to sell my house. My wife at that point, she used to help me. She used to clean houses, and she was cleaning that house. He's like, I love that house. She fell in love with that house, and when he told me he was selling it, I said, you know what? My wife loves your house. I'll buy it from you. So sold that house. Actually, go back. This is where Sergio, I gave him a shot. I said, if you can refinance this house, we'll do business together. And he refinanced it. So I went from paying, I think I was paying like $2,200 as well. And I refinanced it, brought my payment down to $1,100, and also pay off my car. So I was very, very happy. So now I paid off my car. I'm only paying $1,100 when I was paying like $2,500 total. So fast forward 2 years, we said, you know what? I love the house that Dave offered me. Bought it from him, bought it for $215,000. At that point, my credit was good. I worked on it for all those years. I paid a very high interest, but it didn't matter. I needed a home, and I didn't want to rent. I thought it was hypocritical. I'm a real estate agent renting a house. Like, you know, it was principal more than investment. I never saw these houses as an investment. However, your home will become an investment over the years. So think about it when you're buying a home. For you, it's a home, right? Over the years, it's going to become an investment. And a lot of people get lost in that section where they're like, well, what if the market drops? Who cares? You're still going to make a rent payment, right? So why would you pay somebody else's mortgage when you can start little by little owing less and less and less? And then again, you look back and you're like, I'm a genius, right? So we lived there for 2 years. We moved into this home. This was dirt. Thank God we made a few bucks, and then business was good. So we fixed the backyard. We lived there. It was our home for 6 years. We bought this home for $215,000. My buddy Dave bought it for $199,000. 2021, I had the brilliant idea to buy another property as an investment. So we moved to Litchfield Park. But when I moved from this house, I bought it for $215,000. I sold it for $510,000. Did I make good money? This was my home. I never went in, oh my gosh, I'm going to wait there. I'm going to make $300,000 when I move. Not at all. My goal was to have a better home for my family as time went on, as time progressed. And that's what we did. We moved to a nicer home. It's what we wanted, right? You get to the point where you say, you know what, this is what I want. Can I get it? Let's do it. Right, Janet? All right. So we moved, we sold that home for $510,000, and we moved to our current home. We bought this home for $605,000. If you ask me 2014, 2016, if I would have paid this price for any home, I'd be like, you're crazy. I would never pay that kind of money. You're nuts. Well, that house is $750,000 right now. All I've done is lived in these houses. I haven't lived in, like I said, I know I'm being redundant, but I just want to let that sink in. These have been our homes. They have not been my investments. We have 13 other properties that almost pay for this, and I don't have to worry about a payment. But where things changed is when you start seeing other people that have done it, other people that have lived and enjoy the benefits of doing these uncomfortable things that most people aren't willing to do. And I think that's why you're here today, right? Is to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that's my story. This is where we live. So in total, we made $47,000 from Dahlia, which was the first house after the crash. And I wanted to bring up the crash because I lived it. A lot of people say, well, the market's going to crash. I'm not going to ever get in. And I have people that up to this day, they haven't forgotten about the crash. It's like the cat, climbing the hot stove, never went in. On top of it, it's like, you got to move on, right? You can't keep reliving the past. You're not going to grow. So Mandalay, we made $55,000, 192nd, $295,000. San Miguel, if I was to sell my house, I would have made almost over $500,000, $142,000.
How much of that is taxed?
None. Every 2 years, if you move from your home, there's an exclusion when you sell your properties where it's your primary residence. I'm not an accountant, like he said, seek accounting counsel for that. But after 2 years, when you sell your primary residence, if it's under $1 million, if you're married, you don't pay taxes. If you're married, it's like $250,000. So I haven't paid any taxes on this.
And that is why earlier when we were talking with SAC, I brought that up. This is great for the youngsters. And I'm not discriminating or putting the rest of the folks aside, but I like emphasizing the youth because I believe there's a big opportunity for them. If you strategically purchase your first property, you stay there for 2 years, and you can potentially rent rooms and have people pay your mortgage while you're building equity. Okay. 2 years later, if you have equity, you can potentially sell that house, or I would say keep it as a primary home, and not a primary home, make it your rental, and move on to the next property, a newer house or another house as your primary, because you get the better loan, etc. And if you strategically do that, in 10 years, you're going to be sitting pretty. So the earlier you start, the nicer it's going to be. So if you start at 20 and now you're 30 years old, or 35, what if it's 15 years later? You're going to look back like Juan is doing here, and you're going to say, wow.
And this is just a portion of the story, Angel, because out of this house right here on 182nd, I did a line of credit and I started investing. And those investments had babies little by little, and they grew, right? So my point with this, guys, is first of all, don't rent, because you're paying someone else's mortgage. And 100% of your payment goes to your landlord. And that landlord is very happy, like I am, right, with them paying my mortgages, but you're not building any wealth. And the net worth, what he was talking about, this is your net worth. Like all these other rental properties that I purchased, I bought them in the last 5 years. All of those have a lot of equity. It's millions of dollars, guys. And if I can stand in front of you guys, Juanito del barrio de Michoacán, donde vengo, that had nothing, and I can show you this, if I can do it, you guys are smarter than I am. You guys can do it too. It's just that my niece was telling me, he's like, you're not afraid, Theo. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm going to die no matter what. I'm not taking anything with me, so I'm going to take risks. So there's not taking a risk, not taking a chance is a risk too, just so you know, because you're pretty much waiting to see what happens. And what happens is we get a lot of 60-year-old people that get here and they want to get their first home because now they cannot afford their rental. And that breaks my heart because they're going to work the rest of their life. Just imagine if they get a 30-year mortgage right now in their 60s. And we see it all the time. And this is something that I've been talking about for years, but I'm glad that we have this platform that I am able to talk to more people so you guys can also tell them, and especially the younger ones that can do it and they're willing to do it, you have nothing to lose and a lot to gain.
And going back to the graphs, the interest rates that we were looking at, historical data, I think it was probably 1973. If someone would have said, I'm going to wait for the rates to drop, Angel, in 1973.
I actually got the stat right here. I was going to talk about it.
Oh, no, you
Next.
I
Okay.
don't want to steal your thunder, but I just felt compelled.
No, but it's good. Like this is,
You know, that person would have potentially waited 22 or 23 years for interest rates to go back to where they wanted them to be. Well, how many years of equity, how many years of rent money that went flying in 22, 23 years? That's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money and a lot of opportunity missed, right? So it says perspective. In 1971, mortgage rates were 7.33. If you waited to purchase a home until rates went down, you waited until 1993. You would have rented 22 years. Meanwhile, the value of real estate quadrupled, right? During that time, interest rates peaked in October 1981. We just saw it, 18.1 for a 30-year fix. It was in 1998 that mortgages averaged 6.91. So don't let that hold you guys back, especially if you're thinking about getting your first home, if you're thinking about getting your investment property, which I know several of you guys already have several properties. And I'm super happy for you, and I'm grateful that you're here spending your Saturday morning with us. That's all I have. I'm thankful, like I said, for being here. We'll take a look a real, what is that? Do you think home price? Well, we already talked about that. Oh yeah, well, if you guys think about prices, if you guys don't know about prices, so Angel showed you the graphs on the rates. This is from 1965, 2024. If you think that home prices drop, like people think that they're gonna go back down, when was the last time they came down? Right? They're going like this, but they're always going up. This is 2008. And these little corrections, they're cycles. Every November, October, November, the sales drop. And then they go up again, and they drop, and they go up again, but the trend is always going up. And if we didn't have 2008, and if you follow this line, we're right where we should be at, right? So this is another great perspective for you guys to understand that you guys are sitting in a beautiful opportunity, and that if you wait for tomorrow, next year, or the year after, you're gonna miss out. And again, like I said, most of you guys have already done and taken steps on that. So I'm grateful, and I'm glad that you guys trusted us with your purchases and your investments, because at the end of the day, it's like we have a huge responsibility, and we're not here just to tell you what you want to hear or tell you something just for you guys to make a move and purchase. We're here to help you grow.